Sentimental video for the 15th of April 2021 for the QuasiDB service. Gold is approaching MR1, like I said yesterday. Keep an eye on 1752. The signal is saying to buy, technically. This is the sentimental signal to sell. Dynamically, they're going long, so sentimentally, it should be falling. However, there was lots of Fed speak. Last night there was a barrage of four back-to-back speakers following Powell. So including Powell, there was five Fed speakers yesterday, which is ridiculous. And there's talk of tapering, which kind of makes sense in a way because they can't keep pumping money into the economy. It's just ridiculous. So this will move for fundamental reasons and that Fed speech. So keep an eye on 7052, obviously, because that's MR1, and that also that complements this auto trend line. 1, 2, maybe one there, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is a daily, so it's had 6 respects of that line, and it coincides with MR1 pretty much at 1752, and it's going to be a good big mover, potentially even maybe even to test that line from below. So it could like really rally $100. So be careful. It might ignore the sentiment, and it's going to be fundamentally driven. If you are short, just perhaps get out at 70.52 because that'll break that line. And we might come and get the stop loss cluster above and then come down, so do be careful. SLC above is 17.63. I mean, that's quite likely. 17.20, it will come up, get that liquidity, and it will come down to test that line. And then we can either bounce or fall. So, but that's maybe a potential target, 70.63. AJ, 84.29. Oh, it's going to be slow again. That's annoying. 83. Wait, buy. AU, 77.60. This is a large stop loss cluster, very large. 75.80, and it's old as well. It's actually quite old. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be safe. There is some support there, as you can see. And we've got resistance overhead as well at the SLC. EA, this is the largest mover on the sentiment towards sell. 157.08 and 154.64. There's your monthly pivot there, don't forget. EU, like I was saying, this was going to come up because of the risk on move that we had. MR1 is 119.94, and SLC above is at 1.2. SLC below 119.44. Wait on the signal, buy here. So keep an eye on the sentiment and stuff. There's your monthly pivot too, so that's like a good confluence. When price is above monthly pivot and it's a buy, it normally does quite well. So that's that big move there. GU. This is our only outstanding signal. We had a lot of chop this week. It was absolutely ludicrous how much chop we had on the sentiment. So it was 50-50 about 20 minutes ago, and now it's become to buy. But you can see how sideways the sentiment is, and that's why this has been quite choppy. A lot of the signals that we had they sort of triggered on and off, and that's the reason for it. There wasn't any like clear direction from the crowd. Above 138.09 and below 137.45. There's your monthly pivot. Don't forget. So we do want to crack above if we're looking to go long, and we are currently in our setup because of the bubbles. So we do want to get it above monthly pivot 138.23. Still some distance away. 50 pips actually. It's quite far. NU. So this should have triggered, but I fixed the issue with the IFTTT now. This would have been an awesome trade for us because it would have triggered sometime back here. We would have made like 80 odd pips on that move. So it's a shame it didn't trigger, but I've now fixed the issue. The IFTTT was needed deactivating and reactivating. Buy, and the one above is 7165, and one below is 7125. The signal saying to wait. I think it's possibly because of that the MACD is pointing down on average. And the stochastic's a little bit weak on the small time frames as well. EJ, Sideways, like I said yesterday, sideways price action. We're between those two bars, and we're going to likely chop around between those two bars. One above 130.70 and 129.50. Buy, wait. It's good that it's saying wait, because we really should be, when we look at this horizontal price action, it's not really much point getting involved. You want to see a sustained break, but even so, we had one test a monthly pivot and we bounced. So then we came back within the range again. Pound yen. Now this is a large stop loss cluster, as is euro yen's one above is large. The pound yen's one is large below. So if you look at it from a liquidity perspective, it could be weak pound, strong euro. So it might be worth looking at the euro pound. If they're just going to go and take this liquidity, this should come down, and then this should come up, and then that will push the euro pound price up. If they're going to be cruel, which is quite likely. Buy, wait, and above is 151 and 149.48. Sideways, dollar yen, likewise, caught within that range. One above is 109.10. One below is 108.70. Now that support is from this low, to the 16th. That's a month old support, and that's how that's calculated, that support there. Zoom back in. Dollar CAD, horrible, really horrible. Just chopping up and down monthly pivot. We are now currently below. We do want it a bit below that, to be honest. We are a sell, and the signal saying to wait, so there isn't any confirmation so far. It's just going to be a choppy day probably. 12555 is your monthly pivot, and that's them guys going long, so it should be falling, which it did, but it should probably be falling to get the SLC, I think. 12495 and 12645 for the Swiss. Nearly took the stop loss cluster out, 92.40 and 91.79. If you zoom out, I've actually broken this line, and it respected it nearly a fourth. So there's a fourth here, so it's respected it 4 times. But it's not as strong as this gold on the daily though. And if we zoom into perhaps the hour, and even though the gold bubble is actually indicating sell, this is coming up anyway because of fundamental reasons. So you have to remember to look at the like the macro picture of like Fed speech and drivers that push price up and down. It's not all sentimental based or technical. There are fundamental reasons for things to move, and this is why trading is tricky, because you need to keep an eye on many things. And perhaps a reason really not to overtrade and just focus on a couple of pairs, because it can become quite overwhelming. And if you can just focus on gold, then you could do quite well. Just remember that whenever there's any risk event, this is going to move, and keep an eye on what Powell's saying and stuff like that, especially with inflation data. Whenever there is anything on the economic calendar, just keep an eye out for it, and then you should be okay, and just adjust accordingly. So wrap up now. We did okay-ish on the signals. We were currently minus 12 pips yesterday. Luckily, the Aussie, it rallied a lot, so that was great. And so we might be breaking even into positive, but we need this to rally. But like I said on the video, this is very sideways, so I don't know what to say. It might rally. We should, according to the sentiment, but the signal saying to wait, but we're below monthly pivot, so technically we're bearish. So we'll have to wait and see. We need the euro pound to fall if we want the pound USD to come up, and the euro pound is actually quite strong. There's your MR2 and MR1. Broken that line, now we're below this line, but I think we might crack above. So yeah, a bit tricky. If you're trading the pound USD, you want this one to fall, so keep an eye on the euro pound. I'm going to wrap up now. I hope you have a good day, and I'll speak to you guys tomorrow.